Hello and welcome to Chapter 5, Letters. We are getting into the thick of business communication. And during this time, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you are concerned about, that you need help with, feel free. Most of you contact me when you have questions and concerns, but I always like to say it at the beginning and whenever I can, just to let you feel, hopefully, it will make you feel comfortable with coming to me and asking me questions. I don't mind. No question is too small or too big. Okay. Letters. Letters are among the most important and official business documents. They are vital because they represent your company's public image and your competence. Remember, whenever you are sending something, you are representing your company and you're representing yourself. Letters, especially, are many people think that they are being replaced by email, but business letters will always be around because there are always things that need to be on print, as in contracts and important business decisions. They will always be sent through snail mail, through letters, rather than email. They are far more formal, so they're not like memos, they're not like emails, they're not like IMs, they're not like blogs. They are much more formal in tone and in structure. They constitute an official legal record of an agreement. Unlike emails, they are routed before they are sent out. They are more permanent than emails. They are the official and expected medium through which important documents and attachments are sent to readers. They are still the standard medium through which to conduct business with many international readers. Remember that international readers, they need very plain text, direct language so that they can understand exactly what it is they're required to do, what you may want them to do, or what they need to ask of you to do. There are two types of letter formats, full block format and modified block format. This is very important. Full block format, all information is flush against the left margin with spaces between paragraphs. This format should be used only when the letter is on letterhead stationery. Now, I vary a little from the book. I don't You don't need to have full block format on letterhead stationery for me. There will be situations where you will need to have stationery if you're writing as a company, like for a sales letter, which we'll go over in the next chapter. But generally, a full block format doesn't need a letterhead. I have an example of full block format for you. So this is an example of full block format. You have your name, your address, the date, the recipient's name and address, the salutation, the body, the closing, the signature, and if you have one, an enclosure. Notice how everything is to the left. Everything is to the left on full block format. So, I have another song for full block format. It's another Beyonce song. I don't even listen to Beyonce as much as I sing, but she makes great songs for school. Okay, so full block to the left, to the left. Full block to the left, to the left. Everything full block is on the left. So that's a great way to remember full block format. Now, whenever you set up your letter on Microsoft Word, you're going to see some funky stuff. Let me show you how to fix it. Microsoft Word has default settings. You're going to need to change them. Their default setting is to have everything to 10 points and then have multiple line spacing. You do not want that. Change everything to single, change everything here to 0, and your letter will be just fine. So this is full block. Everything is to the left on full block. To the left, boom, got it. All right, modified block format. The writer's address, if not already imprinted on the letterhead, date, complimentary close, and signature are positioned on the right side of the letter. All of these elements are aligned. Paragraphs may or may not be indented. So I vary a little on this too. Full block format. Let me show you what it looks like. So the inside address, your address, if you are sending the letter, the inside address, does not need your name. This, your address, needs to be centered. The date needs to be centered. The complimentary close needs to be centered. The signature information needs to be centered. All of these things go in the center of the page. So, your inside address without your name, I don't want this to confuse you, so I'll just take this off. So your inside address, the date, the closing, the signature, all of that information, all of that goes into the center. Nothing else goes in the center. Your paragraphs are indented. So again, this is how it's very different. Modified block is very different from full block. Remember, full block is to the left, to the left. Everything in full block is to the left. Modified block is much different, which is why they call it modified, of course. So your inside address in the center, your date, or the date in the center, the close, the signature, all of that goes into the center. And your paragraphs are indented. Take a good look at that. Very different. Okay. So that's the difference between full block and modified block. Letter appearance. Following are some tips on printing professional looking letters. Use a letter quality printer. You don't want to use a printer that needs toner and it's going to come out with big stripes down the middle, or lines going across and the words smearing together. You want to make sure, oh, that's the second one. Always check your toner cartridge level. Exactly. Because remember, this is representing you. And in some cases, letters, just like memos, just like emails, are the first impression your reader has of you. You want to give a good first impression to your reader, especially in business. This helps create rapport. Experiment with different fonts and choose a font that is inviting to the eye. So you don't want to get anything too crazy, but you can deviate from the normal Times New Roman. You just want to use something that's easy to read and that looks professional. Avoid crowding too much text onto one page. So there's a very old adage that in business you want to keep everything to a page. Well, I mean, really, you do, but if you can't, for whatever reason, it's okay to go on to the second page because you don't want to have really small letters just so you don't have to go over that page, or letters that are crunched together, paragraphs that are pushed together because you don't want to go over that one page. You want to keep your letter looking very neat, very professional. Be careful about lopsided letters. Center your letter, making sure it looks balanced and proportional. Use Print Preview to view an image of your letter before you print it out. Use high quality white paper and matching standard sized business envelopes. So, when you are sending important documents, we all want to stuff them into the 8.5 by 11 or whatever size it is, the long, tiny envelope. But for some business communication, you don't want the creases in the letter. You don't want the chance of it getting bent and folded and all that. So just get the larger envelopes to send business stuff in. It helps. Parts of a letter. The date line. Spell out the name of the month in full and include the date and year. The inside address, the name and address of the person to whom the letter is being written. The salutation, for instance, Dear Dr. Brown. Never use a comma after the salutation. In formal letter, use a colon instead. Body, the complete message portion of the letter. Complimentary close, for instance, sincerely or yours truly. Signature, allow 4 spaces for your handwritten signature and type your name and title below the handwritten signature. Enclosure line, indicate any enclosures sent with the letter. You may simply write enclosures or be more specific. Copy notation, the notation CC, carbon copy, or PC, photocopy, indicate who else received a copy of the letter. And you just want to do that to be ethical, to let people know who received a letter. Now, so this is the enclosure, enclosed welcome packet. Now, if you read the letter, you see that I mentioned the welcome packet. If you mention that there's an enclosure, you want to remind the reader at the end of the letter. And that's what I do right here. The complimentary close. The signature for this class, you won't be able to send me or mail me a handwritten signature. So it's absolutely fine for you to use a cursive font or a fancy font to act as a signature. That's completely fine. And there's software where you can actually download a picture of your signature, but everybody doesn't have that. So for now, the fancy font is fine. The fancy font is fine. Okay. Organizing a standard business letter to help readers grasp your message clearly and concisely. Follow this simple plan. In your first paragraph, tell readers why you are writing and why your letter is important to them. Boom. That is the most important information. We all want to know as soon as we get a letter, what is this about and why am I getting it? Just like a memo, just like an email, just like all this other communication that we'll talk about. That's the first thing that you want to let the reader know. Why you are writing and why this is important to them. Put the most significant point of each paragraph first to make it easier for the reader to find. We've heard of topic sentences, right, in English 111. So you want to start each of your paragraphs with topic sentences. Let the reader know why each paragraph is important. In the second and subsequent paragraphs of your letter, develop the body of your letter with factual support. So just go into detail. If you know that the letter is about, like my example that I used, someone getting a recording contract, they go into detail, or participating in a festival, then go into details about exactly what that means. And in your last paragraph, thank readers and be clear and precise about what you want them to do or what you will do for them. Remember in memos, when I mention a call to action, you want to do the same thing in letters. You want to mention a call to action in the last paragraph. And on a tone of goodwill, so say thank you, sincerely, best, something positive, and then say I will give you a call within the next few days, or I will contact you for a meeting within the next couple weeks, or you may contact me at blah blah blah. You want to leave something for the reader to do, or for something that you may do for the reader. Making a good impression on your reader. Writing letters means communicating to influence your readers, not alienating or antagonizing them. As you draft and revise your work, pay special attention and follow the 4 guidelines for achieving the you attitude. Now, the you attitude is seeing yourself how your reader sees you. Never forget that your reader is a real person. Keep the reader in the forefront of your letter. Be courteous and tactful, and don't sound too pompous or pretentious or bureaucratic. Remember, these business letters are being read by busy people, just like memos, just like we talked about. So you want to get to your point quickly. You want to be direct, you want to be concise, but you also want to be positive and you want to be professional as well, even when it concerns giving bad news, which we'll talk about in the next chapter. Guidelines for communicating with international readers. I'm reading fast, I'm sorry. You cannot assume that every culture writes letters the way we do in the United States. When communicating with readers from cultures different from your own, including within the U.S., you should use common, easily understood vocabulary. Choose the words that are most widely used. Avoid ambiguity. Avoid words that have double meanings. Avoid being unclear. You never want to leave anything open to interpretation, so you don't want to be unclear with your reader. Be careful about technical vocabulary. Use only widely known technical terms. Don't use jargon that only you and everyone in your field knows. Avoid idiomatic expressions. Avoid such phrases as I'm all ears or think outside the box. That may have a different meaning, or they might just not know what it is at all for international readers. Delete sports and gambling metaphors. Avoid such phrases as out in left field or a ballpark figure. You want to be direct. Don't use abbreviations, acronyms, or contractions. These shortened words may confuse international readers. Watch units of measure. Don't assume that everyone uses the same units of measure we use in the U.S. Avoid culture-bound descriptions of place and space. Not everyone has the same meaning for East Coast. Keep your sentences simple and easy to understand. Be cautious about style and tone. Use appropriate salutations, complimentary closes, and signature lines. Okay, I am definitely going to have to finish this in a part 2, so stay tuned. Chapter 5, part 2, coming up.